6 scientists and a government official have been sentenced to 6 years in prison for manslaughter in Italy for failing to give adequate warning of a deadly earthquake in 2009 that killed 300 people. Well, could that now deter scientists, even here in New Zealand, from advising governments or working in seismic risk assessment? Joining me now is Kelvin Berryman from GNS Science. Welcome to the program. There seems to be a lot of surprise and shock and outrage at this sentencing, but can we just go to the crux of the situation? It's not that, I guess, the scientists failed to say there will be an earthquake of this magnitude at this time, but it is how they communicated to their community the potential risk. Is that fair to say?
Yes, I think that's a good base. I think it's quite widely misunderstood that, in fact, the charges are not about not accurately predicting the earthquake, but it's about their duty of care of assimilating all the information and then putting out a balanced view going forward.
So this was a panel of experts that gathered in Aquila and said to the people, look, it's unlikely to happen. But is it the extent that they were perhaps too optimistic? What was it? Because we know scientists can't say this will happen at this time on this date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Too optimistic, I think, given now that the range of information going into the decision making is known through the court case, and it seems, I guess this is the judge's view, that it came out the other end with an extremely optimistic view given the information that was to hand.
So does this have repercussions in New Zealand for scientists working in this area?
I hope it, really what it does is remind us as scientists that our obligation, our duty of care obligation, is to provide the best possible advice, and that's not necessarily the advice that the public would like to hear, but the balanced view with the uncertainties and not really trying to be popular, but actually trying to convey the best judgment, but with its uncertainties.
So can we unpackage that a little bit? Because are you saying that the public want to be reassured, they want to be given definitive answers, but that science needs to be accurate rather than comforting?
I think that's right. I mean, in our Christchurch situation, of course, for 2 years now, the public have been wanting to be reassured that it's all over. It's fine, we can move on, but our judgment has been that the earthquakes will continue for some time, declining in their intensity, and really that's been the consistent messaging, albeit rather unpopular at times.
Is there a temptation, though, for scientists now, after this decision in Italy, to really back away from giving any assurance, even if the data suggests assurance is possible?
Oh, I think it's a bit of a wake-up call, perhaps more to be very careful about the communication, to be not to be swayed perhaps by knowing what the answer that everybody would like, but to be more balanced or to be balanced than that. So I think a reminder, of professional responsibility, rather more, I hope, than retreating away from what really are professional obligations.
So you think that this won't affect the bravery of, say, scientists in delivering hard data, whether it's positive or negative?
I certainly hope not, and I think the New Zealand situation is perhaps different from Italy. I think we are protected by. Sometimes we're under the wing of the Ministry of Civil Defence if there's a declaration, but we're also charged with that communication responsibility, but as in the case in Italy, it really is gross negligence of taking account of known information that really brings any criminal charges. So we have that duty of care to be professional in our communication already, so
look, if
I don't have too many problems.
If science in the future comes up with a way to predict earthquakes and then they warn people inaccurately, do you think at that point it would be fair to hold scientists accountable?
I think we're some way away from that hypothetical situation. I think there are examples around where forecasts or predictions have been made and they've been false predictions, and actually often the impact or the economic impact of that is higher than even if the event had occurred. So we're going to have to be very, very confident into the future to not be precautionary in the advice given. I think for a long time we'll be asking people to be careful, to be prepared, and that precautionary principle holds.
Kelvin Berryman, GNS Science Principal Scientist, thanks for joining Breakfast.